Hello, AP US History, 7th period. Hope everybody had a wonderful lunch. As you know, I have assigned a book for you to start reading called Death in Haymarket by Mr. James Green, who's a historian. How many of you had finished the reading? I see about 70% of you. That's about what I was expecting. I know some of us have busy lives. I really do hope that you can get to it and catch up on the reading. Not assigning you to read the whole book, but if you could read it, it's really really wonderful and has a lot of really good information in it. Did anyone has anyone ever heard or knew anything about Haymarket Square riot, or perhaps why I chose to teach about it in our U.S. history? Anyone? Anyone? Okay. So yeah, it's kind of unfortunate that it's a subject matter that is forgotten in American schools usually. The reason I chose to teach about Haymarket Square riot is, one, it took place here in Chicago on the corner of Des Plaines and Randolph, which now there's a monument there commemorating it. The other reason is that it's actually the beginning of National Labor Day for everywhere around the world, except for here in the United States, because we view it as a bunch of unruly individuals who try to get workers' rights passed for people. So, with that in mind, how does this relate to the situation that we're currently in and situations that we have been in for quite some time? And what was the significance of the Haymarket Square riot, and when did it take place even? And what happened? Does anybody get to that? Anybody know anything? Okay. So there was a organized rally for workers who were working sometimes 12 to 14-hour days, and people had decided that they had enough. They called for a rally in Haymarket Square on May 1st. The rally was later postponed to May 4th, where they had a bunch of speakers speak over on Des Plaines and Randolph, like I had previously stated. And as one of the notable speakers of the time, a guy by the name of Samuel Fielden, was speaking on a soapbox, a bomb went off and ended up taking the life of a police officer by the name of Matthias Deegan, who later obviously passed away. And the police came in and started beating protesters, shooting at everyone. About 12 officers died. As later we found out, most of them died due to friendly fire from other police officers. But this was the beginning of a workers' movement in the United States, something that is kind of prevalent today. We see this happening all across the country, where people are organizing for better work days, for better conditions in the workplace. So that all started in the United States. This was happening in Europe plenty of times. It happened in Paris and happened in London with a guy by the name of Karl Marx. Some of you might have learned about him in our remedial history classes in this country. But this was the first kind of movement here in the United States. So, as I talked, I think you understand that the the reason for the rally was to get workers' rights. Does anybody know what had happened to why we have Haymarket martyrs? If any of you have heard that, what happened to them? Well, the 70% of you that did do the reading clearly didn't pay attention enough. there was 8 men who were arrested. They were tried, and they were hung for the murder of the one police officer, who the bomb went off and killed. Which is, if you look at modern times and at the Capitol riots that just took place here on January 6th, there seem to be a lot of parallels between those things, while the anarchists, quote unquote, that were leading the Haymarket rally were hung, and 4 of them were hung, 3 of them were released, one of them killed himself in prison. And there's definitely some kind of difference between the way that we treat certain people in this country when they want to riot and harm police officers. So I guess that's how it all relates to today. I really do recommend that you take a look and read, especially if you're interested in this. I chose this particular topic because it takes place here in Chicago, because it's important, because it's something that's celebrated around the world now as a national labor movement. And we tend to look down in this country upon teachers that are organizing. We don't understand the historical consequence of where that stuff came from, of the reason that we have child labor laws and stuff like that, and the reason that we have just labor laws in general, why we don't have to work 14-hour days. And if we do work 14-hour days, we get paid overtime for those days, or we get extra PTO, things like that. I do find the topic matter to be very significant, very important, and I think that we should really take a look and read it, especially since you guys are AP history students. I think that this is something that's not necessarily covered all the time. I think that the misbehavior, the judicial system, is something that's not really talked about in history classes, and I think that we should take some time and really try to get some better understanding of why this is so important, why it's important to me, why it's important to a lot of your parents and a lot of the other teachers that you see here that want to get a fair shake and get better contracts and get paid. So I hope that you will continue to learn about this and other events like this throughout the world. Does anyone have any questions or comments, concerns? Anybody find this interesting? Yes, Jackie. Yes, I know that your dad is a union worker and you found this to be very fascinating. I appreciate the input there. I think for our next assignment, actually, is I'm going to ask you guys to talk to anybody who is in your family who might be in a union, teacher, construction worker, things of that nature. Even some retail stores have unions, and talk to them and see if they feel that unions are beneficial to them, and if they know the history of where union work actually comes from in this country. So I hope that you guys really do take initiative and learn some more about this, because I think it's fascinating.